What if this is all a stunt? What if they pull out last minute, or if they pass it in the UN but it really doesn't really change anything? Where does that leave us in terms of the peace process? Not clear. But it's possible that we won't see, all these are speculations. It's possible that come September, it all sort of fizzles away. Sort of like the flotilla and the flotilla. Nothing really happened at the end. Okay, especially if Israel's good at asserting its diplomatic pressure. Number one. Number two, Fatah and Hamas, their unity government is fragile. At any point, it can fall apart, and we can tumble into either anarchy or civil war, or a combination of the two. And it's not clear how that affects A, their prospects for becoming a Palestinian state, and B, if they are a Palestinian state and then they fall apart, what will that anarchy look like? It could be devastating for all parties involved. Number three, there's all this buzz about institution building. Fayyad and Abbas over the last few years have been selling to the world this notion of building up the Palestinian economy, building up state institutions and organizations and leadership and bureaucracy and everything they need. Sort of they were emulating what Israel did from the 20s to the 40s, building up everything we needed for a state. There's a few fascinating articles in the last couple of weeks about how a lot of this is a deck of cards that's just waiting to collapse. A lot of it is not really stable. It was more of like a marketing ploy to get funding into Palestinian territories. But some analysts now believe that in 1999, Palestinians had more control and more state institutions than they do now. So if they do become a state, it's not clear that they'll hold strong like we think they do, especially because Abbas is being propped up by Israel and the U.S. If we stop supporting him, giving money, training his soldiers, Hamas might take over. It's not clear that they're stronger in the West Bank, but it's also a possibility. And the last thing, and this is to me the most concerning trend, remember I started with the phase plan, the stage plan in '74. The question has always been, to what extent are Palestinians willing to compromise and really end at a two-state solution? And to what degree is that just another step towards wanting all of Palestine? Here's a quote from just a couple of weeks ago from Nabil Shad, who's one of the main Palestinian negotiators, talking about this issue. To me, this is the biggest elephant in the room. Abbas, Fayyad, their top advisors, they're not talking about the end of the conflict. They're talking about, we're going to the UN, we're going to declare a state, and then we're going to keep going. Like he says, Nabil Shah, we're not going to give up the rights of 1.5 million Palestinians to live in Israel. We're not going to give up on the right of return. We're not going to give up on... so that to me is the biggest trend. Because even if who we see as the moderates, like Abbas and Nabil Shah is seen as a moderate, they're not willing to talk about that. That makes this move even more concerning, because it's not a two-state solution that maybe then we can adapt the borders and figure out like last-minute stuff. It's that, and then they want to keep going. To me, that's the biggest problem with this whole initiative.